I had put out a mailbag request like last weekend, and I told people my email address. People sent me some emails, and then they got at me on the Twitters, and they got at me in YouTube, so we're just going to roll through them, probably more quickly for some than others. So the first one here was, who will replace K9 as the leader on defense? K9 being Kenneth Murray Jr. Kenneth Murray Jr. is likely to get drafted in the first round, but if he doesn't, that's okay. He played outstanding football at OU. I was bullish on Murray from the start because he became the first middle linebacker to start at Oklahoma as a true freshman since 1975, when he did so 3 years ago against UTEP 2017. From there, he grew into a player. Now, he was beside Emmanuel Beal in Mike Stoops' trash 3-4, 3-3-5, run a train through it, Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb defense, but he played well. Kind of came into his own in 2018 where he had a bunch of tackles, over 150 tackles on a very bad defense, but was not even the best player on that defense. That'd be Curtis Bolton. Even as the defense was historically awful, particularly against the pass, Murray continued to show flashes of why he'd been so good. Now, the knock on him was, hey, teach this guy how to read run fits. Teach this guy how to be in the right spot at the right time. And that wasn't always going to be what was going to go on with him because he's still learning to play that position because he never played middle linebacker. He came to Oklahoma as an outside linebacker. He was supposed to be a jack, stand up, rush the passer, which he got to do a little bit more of in his third season under Alex Grinch and was properly used, quite honestly. But with the regime change came a new scheme, and then he showed that he could play in that scheme, and he would sell out for Brian Odom and Alex Grinch. And then 6'2", 240 pounds, you understand what kind of athlete he has to be to move as quickly as he does to be that small or that big, chasing down smaller guys. But also, he had a come to Jesus meeting with De'Aaron King against Houston. Many of y'all might remember where he looked shot out of a cannon and just tattooed a dude that was getting Heisman buzz to start the season. Finishes this season with another 100 tackles, has over 300 in his career at Oklahoma, and is just the kind of leader that you want on your defense as well. Hence the question, who's the new leader on defense? I know that folks are going to say DaShaun White coming out the gate because DaShaun White is the best pure linebacker on the roster right now for Brian Odom and Alex Grinch. He's also been called the most instinctual linebacker that Brian Odom has ever coached. He also came to Oklahoma, like Kenneth Murray, as an outside linebacker. They asked him to move inside. He took straight to it. Was a safety at one point in his career. He knows how to read run fits. He's a great tackler. And I understand he will be the Mike in the middle making the call. But the leader on defense might be a little bit different. I think that guy's probably going to end up being Tre Brown, right? Tre Brown is also probably going to end up being one of these guys that's on the cover. If it's not him or Caleb Kelly, it would have to be DaShaun White. But the way that Tre Brown has played over the last 3 years, the way that he has made one of those positions his own, how he was like Parnell Motley, a part of this just maligned and trashed pass defense, but kept showing up to work and was able to hold down his spot as a corner in Grinch's scheme. You're also going to lean on your leaders on that team being upperclassmen. I think that's got to be the guy. It's got to be Tre Brown this year. And if it's not, yeah, we could talk about perhaps a Brian Meade if you wanted to, but it'd go straight to DaShaun White. You're also going to look at Jalen Redmond to try to ascend. Caleb Kelly, I get it. A lot of people want him to be good. A lot of people want him to lead the defense. I wanted him to do that for the last 3 years. He missed much of last year with a blown ACL. The year before that, he got flat out beat by Curtis Bolton. He was in the linebacker room, basically playing assistant coach to Brian Odom. It's there for him if he wants to take it, but Tre Brown has been doing it and doing it well for a long time. So Tre Brown gets my vote there. Let's see who else we got in here. If you're Sam Pittman, how do you prepare for a season with everything shut down? This is Craig Pardue, who follows it up with like actual email or also on Twitter, yada, yada. He figured it out. Look, Sam Pittman is one of these coaches that is going to have the roughest time trying to put together his football team and really a direction on the field because he hadn't been on the field with his team. He, like Dave Aranda and many other first-year head coaches, are up against the wall in a way that they never have been. Like Jeff Scott at South Florida also comes to mind. There are guys that are taking jobs at other locations that have been head coaches before, like Mike Norvell in Memphis. He's at Florida State now. You'll see more of that, but I think those guys are going to have a little bit easier time getting along because they know what it means to be the head man in charge, and they know what they want to see and the way they'd like to see it done. Pittman basically needs to go into recruiting mode and try to get his assistants to do the yeoman's work, staying in touch with their position groups, going through what different schemes and play calls might look like, watching film together if they're allowed. All these things are in flux, but I think the only way that you can do this if you're Pittman is you try to Zoom with these kids or FaceTime with them every day. You just work through the roster, and you might only get to a player once a week, but you want to continue to get to each one of your players as well as the kids you're recruiting. The short answer to this is we have no idea how Sam Pittman is going to pull this off, like Dave Aranda, who I mentioned. Just don't know, because nobody's had to do it this way before, and I think we're all going to give the first-year head coaches even more of a mulligan than we would normally, knowing that this is their first year, and usually you're taking over a program that has a new head coach for a reason. They were bad last year, probably lost a lot of kids. Your better players might have transferred away, and your incoming freshmen might not be that good, right? You'd have to wait and see. Now, with Baylor, I think it's going to be real interesting because their recruiting class wasn't great, but Matt Rule seemed to get the kids that he needed to win football games. Dave Aranda going out about it another way. He's flat out just trying to out-recruit people. I mean, Kendrick Blackshear put Baylor on the list of places that he's still considering, and that's a high-value 150 kid, four-star recruit out of Duncanville, previously Mesquite Horn, 6'2", 250 pounds. Matter of fact, this gives me an opportunity to shade a Texas fan. I made an upload earlier today that I put on the channel. You can go check it out. Talk about JoJo Earl and Kendrick Blackshear in Texas, because both of those dudes ain't being either recruited by Texas or considering Texas, right? JoJo Earl decides to go to LSU out of Alito, right? Last year, or 2 years ago. Last year, Garrett Wilson, Lake Travis, goes to Ohio State. Blackshear doesn't even have Texas on the list, still considering A&M though. To which we had a commenter on the channel say, he's not a scheme fit. Excuse me. If 6'2", 250 pounds and runs like a Ford GT40 and hits like a Peterbilt carrying 2 tons of bricks is not a scheme fit, that's the reason that Texas is trash. Like, the guys that they're choosing to recruit in their area that they should even just offer, even if it's at a different position, that they don't choose to go out and try to make a plan to go get, just boggles the mind. Even that said, you go through the 2020 rankings, the 2021 rankings, they get enough kids from the state of Texas, but they don't get everybody they should. And you'd be like, yo, RJ, Texas used to be a country. Yes, it did. It was a nation before it was a state. And now it's being out-recruited by a place that was settled by the French and sold for $15 million or pennies on the dollar to the United States. That's how little people thought of Louisiana back in the day. All they're doing is holding up national championship, going into your territory, walking out with your kids. Grant Delpit came back home, lived in Texas. CeeDee Lamb lived in Texas, right? Went to Oklahoma. Number of dudes, like there was a great list today put out by Mike Roach over at Horn 247 about guys who are going to get drafted who could have been Texas players. CeeDee Lamb is on the list, and there's a bunch of them on there. Many of them are at Oklahoma. But back to your original question, the short answer is social media and email and FaceTime. The long answer is he, like many other first-year coaches, are up a creek on this one and doing the best that they can. And I think we all know that because I understand nuance, even if so many people don't. And even if they decide to say that they don't want to actually be in this thing.